Hello everyone, James Williams, Director of Programs with MEF. If you've only just joined us, a very warm welcome to day 2 of MEF Connects LATAM. Now, the next session is all about SMS phishing, but we're going to be concentrating, of course, with it being the day all about Brazil, on the Brazilian market. Now, you just got some stats from Phil about the whole security, the trust side of things, how important it is. And indeed, yesterday, if you remember, we had the session about 10 mind-blowing facts about mobile messaging in Latin America. And we see that there's 650 million people across Latin America. So that's approximately, I think, about 7 or 8% of the global population. But, for example, the business to consumer SMS, the A2P SMS revenues only equate to just under 4% of the global total. So there's a disconnect there. And what is creating that disconnect? Could it be things like SMS phishing? Well, we're going to find out now. And moderating that session is Luanna Sena. Luanna, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you.
No, Luanna, very warm welcome to the show. And Intis Telecom, you're the sales manager here over in the UK with Intis Telecom, but you just happen to be from Brazil. So very, very apt that you've been moderating this session. And thanks to Intis Telecom and your team for being one of our event sponsors. Much appreciated.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity to be here. And yeah, lucky that I am Brazilian to talk about SMS. What else can we ask?
Fantastic. And you're going to be talking about some other things later in Portuguese as well. So in your home language. So anyway, I'll leave you to it. Feel right at home and enjoy the session coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, we're going to talk now about SMS, phishing SMS in Brazil. And I'll bring it here with me, Mike Brown. He's a direct project from MEF. How are you, Mike? You okay?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Pleased to be here.
Yeah, standing up again on a nice desk. Amazing. And now we have a really nice lady as well, so another woman in the technology. She's Liz Zorzo. Yeah, how are you?
Hello there, guys.
Nice to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you too. I'm fine, thank you. Great to be here.
Good. You are in Brazil, right?
Yes, I'm in Brazil right now.
Yeah. And Mike, you're here with me in the UK.
I'm in the UK, yes, just outside London.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm here in London. So, Mike, tell me about you, because I know you have like 20 years of experience in telecom. And how is the phishing here? Because unfortunately, Brazil is the #1 phishing in SMS in the whole world. It's not the same situation here in the UK, but I know that we have the spam code that we need to can we transfer the message when it's spam and phishing here? 7726.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think clearly spam is a massive issue, and you know we've been trying to work in the UK on the SMS registry, protection registry to try and help reduce that and to help the fraud that surrounds it. So it's still a problem, but we are making good headway. Absolutely.
Yeah, but then now, Liz, if we come to Brazil and more like phishing, we're really SMS phishing. I heard that alphanumeric is available there, but they're not really using it. How is it possible?
There's like a lot of discussion around this alphanumeric or alpha tag, as we call over here. It's a great solution, but it needs some regulations on it. So the same thing as a short code or any kind of sender ID. It's not just that we're going to create a new technology and this will make like the SMS traffic spam free or shaft free or phishing free or whatever. We need some regulations. We need to understand what companies should be using alpha tag. So in my opinion, banks, the operators, and maybe like huge tech companies, because they're the most tagged when it comes to fraud and phishing. They're the most used for fraud and phishing. So if you can like create regulations to get those companies, those business using alpha tag, then okay, I think we'll have like 80% of the problem solved. At least, of course, to know that fraud, scam, and etc. will be pushed into another channels, such as WhatsApp. In Brazil, it's really common and people like to use it. And also, we have lots of phishing and fraud coming from long numbers, but still, it would be like a way to make the SMS more trustful. So, yeah, we need regulations for sure.
No,
We need to
yeah,
start
we
this
do.
conversation.
I think
Yeah,
that's interesting because in the UK we've had dynamic alphas now for about 20 years, and you know, everybody can use them. There are no restrictions really, which is partly why we have the problems that we have. So I think it's interesting that in Brazil, if you have the functionality but it's not widely used, then it's part of the education process for you know, for the banks and the institutions and the merchants to try and get them onto proper you know, wholesale channels and SMS channels, but also to start to use alphas where they are possible, and move away from using just purely numerics, because you know, that's probably the first step in trying to control some of the problems.
oh yeah, education is the main way to go for that for sure. But I know we had some experience there in Singapore, using some Alpha America, if you remember correctly, Mike.
Yes, we launched our registry, our first registry in the UK about 3 years ago, and we've just in the last 3 weeks launched a registry in Singapore as well. We've only got about 3 or 4 merchants using it at the moment, but we're hoping to expand that dramatically. Again, they use there is widespread use of alphas there that the banks use. And because they're using alphas, that's why we've, you know, our registry is quite well suited to that market. And we've also got a registry that we launched on the 1st of July in the Republic of Ireland, just across the water from us. So a lot of the merchants are similar or the same as the UK ones. So again, we've had the guys in Ireland have had massive problems with smishing. It's been very, very high profile news over the past 2 or 3 years. So they've been crying out for a solution, and they've just started to benefit from that. So we're very pleased to be able to help them there.
No, yeah, I know it's a big problem with phishing. But Liz, have you had any problem, like personally, with phishing in Brazil? Because I know it's huge, and they are really smart, right? Because they put the link, and then you click, and for example, when you pretend to be a bank, it's just like the app. It's just like the app, the same, even like logos and the colors. Can you tell us?
Yeah, not just Brazil, but LATAM as a whole. We can say that people over here, they are very creative. It's a way to say that. But yes, we have situations that we were not foreseeing. We have like flu bots, and they are like, the users are being pushed to these flu bots over SMS. So they receive an SMS with a link and some false promise. For instance, transform your device into a 5G technology one, which you know it's not possible, but again, a matter of education, right? People don't know that. People don't have this kind of education. So most of them, they are like naive. And then we push the person to WhatsApp, which in Brazil is like 98% of the population has WhatsApp. So right there, you're gonna find like a bot, and they are like pretend that they are like a real one. They have like the operator logo. They even get like a bot name, and that like it's similar to the operator. It really looks real. And they ask for you like, oh, you're gonna like traffic like 100 times faster if you do that. It's not gonna add anything on your regular bill. It's completely free. Just tell us what device you have, and we'll send you a link, and you install it, and in a magic way, your device will become a 5G device. So people go for it, and then they will install a malicious app on their device, and this will steal data from them. And one of the questions that I've got from the operator when we share with them that this was going on and we were blocking this over a platform, the operator asked us who clicked on it. And I was like, I cannot say that. This is Facebook data, so it's not possible for me to access that. And it seems like sometimes the operator doesn't know until where we can get and what kind of information we can bring. So, but yes, it's happening, and it's pretty well built. I can tell you that. If you're like a naive person, you're gonna fall for it. Everything that is like transform into another technology for free, everything that is for free, free credit card, pre-approved credit cards, prizes, win something, it's probably fraudulent. It's probably
Brazilians love free things, right? And
exactly.
I remember telling Mike that even we go from WhatsApp, because Brazil use a lot of WhatsApp, and even the government use WhatsApp to talk to you. So that's a very complicated topic.
I think that's clearly a major issue, really. If you've got government agencies using channels like that, you know, and I think it comes back to education, really, education of consumers. But I do think, you know, it's very easy to just blame consumers for being somehow stupid and not picking it up, because whilst some of the scams are, you know, are quite obviously scams. Some of them are really, really sophisticated, and you've really got, you know, even those of us that are very cynical and look at these things all the time would be hard pushed to see what the fraudster's done. You know, they are very, very clever. So I think education of consumers is important, but we shouldn't just blame them all the time. But equally, education of the merchants to use, you know, sort of legitimate channels, I think is important too. And we see that in the UK quite a lot as well, whereas there's been so much focus over the last few years on it, you know, SMS, let's just pick the supplier with the cheapest price. It's just down to price. And unfortunately, you know, you get what you pay for in this market. And quite often, if you're going to go for the cheapest price, you're going to either be routed via grey routes, or there's going to be the potential to have fraud injected in there. You know, there's all kinds of things. But I think in terms of educating the merchants, you know, they should have an idea of what the wholesale prices of messaging are. And if someone's offering you a price that, as in quite often the case, is lower than a messaging price that's lower than it can be bought at wholesale prices from the networks, then, you know, they should be thinking there's something wrong here. But unfortunately they don't. But that's part, again, of the education process, to say to them, it's, you know, actually protecting your customers' information is really important. And that sometimes means that you might have to spend a little bit more money on your messaging to get a good, secure channel to make sure that it's going to be delivered properly. And consumers are going to be able to determine whether it's genuine or not. If you're going to use the, you know, quite often these very cheap methods of sending messages, then consumers have got no chance of actually determining, really.
No, you're 100% correct. We need to first educate them, and then, yeah, like you said, it's not only we need to protect the consumer. We need to protect them and make this channel clean as possible. So always check the seller ID, make sure it is the right company that say they are, and if possible, how could we reduce it, like this phishing in Brazil and in the world?
Well, from my perspective, to say we've been running a registry now in the UK for about 3 years. I think we've had the same sort of problems that the rest of the world has seen. Admittedly, we've had alphas for probably longer than some, but we set up our registry, say, about 3 years ago. And what we do is we work with merchants, very big merchants. And we collect their genuine sender IDs that they use, their message headers, and we put those into a registry of protected sender IDs. So if you're a bank or whatever, it will be the exact header that they use to communicate with their customers, and we hold that securely within the registry. And we pass that to the aggregator community, and we ask them to monitor those messages using those sender IDs, and to give us reports back that come into the registry that we share with the banks. We also have a process where we look at the misspellings and the impersonation. I should say, really, I think that there's two key risks that we see. We see direct impersonation of a brand as probably the main problem. So if you're a bank and you've got a genuine sender ID, if a fraudster spoofs that exactly, then if your smartphone is going to very conveniently put that fraudster's message into a message thread that you've already got on your phone, and you're going to be hard pushed to know whether it's genuine or not. So we see that as the biggest risk. And then the next biggest risk is through impersonation, where fraudsters will misspell the bank's name or something like that. It's not quite as bad as the direct spoofing, but it's still pretty bad, and customers will get sucked into that. So typically, the fraudster's going to use either numerics in there, so they're going to swap a 0 for an O and things like that in the message header, and it's going to be quite difficult for you to see. They're going to mix it up with upper and lowercase spelling and things like that. So within our registry, we hold a great long list of variants that we know to be fraudulent, and we circulate that list to the aggregators, and we ask them to just block it. As long as it doesn't impact anyone else's messaging, then they can block that, and we cut out a huge amount of the fraud in that way. We've worked very closely with the government. We have 5 major government accounts in the UK. So we actually work with the Cabinet Office, which is which represents central government, the National Health Service, the tax authorities, and a couple of other government agencies. And those are all actually paid for by the National Cyber Security Centre, which is part of GCHQ, and they kind of know a thing or two about cybersecurity. So it's really good to have them sponsoring those government accounts. So by the use of these two lists, we can significantly reduce the impersonation, and also lock down on who's authorized to carry messaging of the legitimate sender IDs. And those two things together have made a real difference, I'm pleased to say. And what it's done is forced the fraudsters from the starting position is usually where the fraudsters will spoof a sender ID exactly. When they can't do that, then they try using a misspelt variant. And when they can't do that, then they tend to use SIM farms and long numbers, which is a separate problem. But it's not quite so dangerous as some of the other forms. Yeah, as I say, we have at the moment there's about 23 major merchants. They're all banks and major retailers and people like that in the UK, and we've had very good results, and they're generally pretty pleased with the way things are going.
Oh yeah, amazing. Well, Liz, she gave me.
I'm seeing some questions over here. And yes, Henrique, in Brazil, Itaú, it's like used a lot. It's a bank, and they changed the first I from an L because a lower L, it's like the same from a upper I. They also use the @ sign in the place of the A. Because Itaú uses on their marketing the I with this @ sign, so they try to trick the user on it. We try to predict all these things, all these variants. So we try to look for numbers and some Cyrillic alphabet letters, such as alpha, because sometimes our mind confunds like alpha with the A, like super easy way. We try to look for any variations of spacing, underscores, all this kind of stuff, on any punctuation between the names of it. But it's also very common for them to find new ways to make this pass through the hard rules of the platform. So I saw a question that they asked me, what are we doing on our side to prevent it? So right now we are working with AI and machine learning, because it's not possible to predict all the changes that a fraudster will do on the text. It's quite impossible. They are really creative, so we are trying to clusterize these messages, understand if they're fraudulent or not, for the scamming or theft or anything like that. And we're trying to use these blocking rules that we already have with AI and machine learning. We are trying to address each kind of problem that we have over here in Brazil, such as Pix. For people that doesn't know, this is like a payment method. It's a new one, and we have we're getting already fraud relating to it. We have the invoice. In Brazil, we use like a barcode on the invoices, and people can pay it getting this line of numbers, and it's pretty common for companies to send this line numbers that they are like payment codes over the SMS texts. And we're trying to predict if this is fraud or not, because these codes, they should be just sent to one people of the time. They cannot be like duplicated into more, they cannot be like multiplied into more people. So we're checking on it. So each problem that we have, such as URLs, phone numbers, that can be like some indicative of fraud, we are getting these problems and trying to solve them separately, because we cannot like find a solution for the whole thing, just like looking into the text message. So there's a lot of things being done, but at the same time, we have like lots of data leaks over the last months. All Brazilians are exposed right now. So fraudsters, they are like way ahead of us, and we're trying to catch them.
It's a really complicated situation.
It's a really complicated situation. For Brazilians, it's like that 7-1 score, Brazil versus Germany. It's every day, it's the same situation. When we are working with fraud, it's terrible in Brazil. But at the same time, great school for us all to learn with. And if we can make it work here, we can make it work anywhere.
Yeah, I think at the example from Mike. And Liz, we have a question from the audience. And shouldn't the mobile operators take some responsibility to shield the subscriber, so the end consumer? You guys are trying, right? You try with the AI, but where goes the responsibility?
I think it's shared. It should be shared. We have a responsibility over the traffic that goes on our platform. We're trying to solve this situation. But also, I think that the operators could try to, at least in Brazil, because I see that in UK it's advanced, US too, but we need like more regulations. We need like regulations to use like alpha tag, as WhatsApp is using like the checked accounts, like the business accounts. They have like a green check for business accounts. We could try to use alpha tag the same way over here for like accounts that are checked and are trusted.
Yeah.
So we should do that. And also operators could have like a second layer of security on their side, like to check on kind of firewall or something like that. It would be like important, because if it goes over us, it can happen. They can try to get on their side. So at least I think we should like start this conversation about sharing responsibility.
At least start, and then after 1 year to like Brazil takes it.
I think it's I think the MNOs, certainly we experienced that in the UK, and it's a fair point. The MNOs could do a lot more, I think. There is more that they can do. I think there are some things that we've got some good cooperation with. One of the things that we found almost accidentally, actually, was the widespread, well, not the widespread, but we found the use of class 0 messaging, flash messaging. And for anyone that doesn't really know what that is, basically you can send a message and it will appear on a handset. It will just, whatever state the handset's in, it will display that message straight away. And when you go to click on it, it just disappears with no audit trail. It doesn't go into the inbox. And the way that the fraudsters have been using it is that they'll send you a message to your handset saying, this is the bank's security team. There's a problem with your account. Customer sees it, they get worried, and then 2 minutes later they get a phone call. from someone who claims to be from the bank. And of course, they're on the back foot already. They're expecting the call, so they're quite happy to give all their details away. Yeah. Now, we found that this was happening in the UK. And it's, to be honest, it's the first time that I'd seen the use of Class 0 for many years. It used to be used for guerrilla marketing years ago. But we worked with the UK operators and we got them to remove the functionality from the wholesale connections. There aren't really any legitimate use cases for Class 0 on a wholesale connection. So at least 2 of the networks have blocked that now, and the others have put in place monitoring, so that we can very quickly see who's using that. So I think, those are the sort of areas where the networks can do more. Yeah. And I think certainly the next area of cooperation that we're looking for is on SIM farms and the use of long numbers. That's where we've moved the problem to in the UK. And we're going to try and hold their feet to the fire a little bit and to do more work in that area.
Oh, yeah, amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much for all this information about phishing, and hopefully, because even in the document that from Math, the report that Phil was talking about, the trust issue in Brazil is huge, and yeah, Brazil has loads of app users in the whole global, but we're gonna try. We do our best to reduce that. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Liz. It's amazing to see you here in Brazil. Thank you, Mike. See you around again from Math.
Thank you.
And thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.